a huge scandal because there were so many opportunities to deal with this which were ignored.
And will this force King Charles to abdicate?
Yeah, I think it's very damaging. My own feeling is that the King's position is untenable. He has quite clearly been complicit in a cover-up. I demonstrate that in Entitled with numerous occasions where the press were told lies, there were denials, there were legal threats, there were attempts to strong-arm them by refusing access to members of the royal family. The fact is he was involved in the settlement with Virginia Giuffre, the £12 million hush money. And I'm afraid, he cannot get off this. I mean, he was clearly very involved in trying to suppress this story over many, many years. And I don't think the public are going to accept that. This is perverting the course of justice. And he himself has said that let justice take its course. Well, this is a good example. Let the law investigate the king.
Oh my goodness gracious me. I don't even know what to quite say. This is amazing. I just came across this video. Basically, hopefully, maybe it's all beginning to happen after all. Unfortunately, say he's real, it's all real for him and everything. They haven't realised, because they include Putin in this now, that they're all involved. It's one system, run by them pretending to be separate entities, but they're not. Russia, England and America and France have red, white and blue flags. And then actually I've done the videos, it's on the channel, they're all wearing eagles on their chest. Why, if you're separate entities and don't believe, and like we had Biden wanting to have war, even though they could go to the Bering Straits and do it because they're so close there, but they include us. Why do they all have eagles? Because it's one system. It's a totalitarianism system where it's even worse than communism. And, maybe that's another reason why Trump had to go into Iran, because he is so heavily involved in the Epstein files. Anyway, we're going to listen to this video. I'm going to add a few bits, and thank you very much to this person that made the video. Hopefully they don't mind me just taking a bit to explain. It includes Putin, it includes Trump, it includes Mandelson, part of our government, it includes Prince Andrew, it includes Charles. Oh my God, he's going to have to go. They're all going to have to go. The system, or should I say, Houston, the system is broken.
Hi, Natasha Belling here. In this episode of The Briefing, we chat with UK royal historian and author Andrew Lowney. Now, this interview comes on the same day that King Charles has for the first time been named in the Jeffrey Epstein files.
It's quite incredible, I suppose, like I've said before, it's Dallas, but how they soap opera, but how they include now Charles. But what he did was he put some of his money into paying that girl off for Andrew before, which includes him in a cover-up because he's helped his brother. And now suddenly he wants to pretend he doesn't exist. But it means that he's been in a cover-up and he's not been honest. Yeah, so it's not just Andrew. I knew it! It's not just Andrew, it's Charles.
Andrew tells us he's not surprised by these latest revelations, and he explains to us why the controversy surrounding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Jeffrey Epstein means King Charles will soon need to abdicate, with his position untenable. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. You wrote a very explosive biography that was released last year called Entitled, where you did extensive investigations into Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and his ex-wife Fergie.
Yes, I am surprised. I mean, one writes these books in the hope that they can shift the dial and loosen the earth. But I didn't expect that, for example, that we would get the Epstein files released, which are dynamite, and has clearly been a huge tipping point in terms of bringing a lot of these people to justice.
Oh, the plot thickens all the time. How many of them are there? Is it just all of the Roman Empire?
So it is very gratifying. It's gratifying to see that my research has been confirmed by what's been released, and exciting that these people will now be held to accountable, I hope. But let's hope other people come forward, new investigations can take place, some of the legal depositions can be unsealed. And I think there should be many, many more people who should be questioned and I think perhaps even charged. I mean, this was part of a huge network. They all worked together.
He's right about that. They all work together. Included in here is Putin, Trump, Epstein, the British government, and it goes on and on. P. Diddy, oh, you name it. Yeah, or do we know it all? Why didn't they release all this at the beginning? Then we wouldn't have had to have had Charles as king. Why wasn't this all produced earlier on? Why is it being done now? For what reason? Crumbling. That's what's happening. Oh my God. Yes. But anyway, let's carry on with the video.
And we've only seen a couple of the names yet so far.
You've mentioned there, Andrew, that this is part of a huge network. The questions are now being asked about exactly what people knew and when. To the enormity of who was involved in this, an interesting point is the sex trafficking allegations are also set to be investigated. But to what degree do you think this is one of the biggest financial conspiracies in history and people made hundreds of millions of dollars?
Yes, and all the important people are involved. All the important people are involved in this. So it's a money thing, a sex thing. You know, all these countries that have been saying, oh, we're going to try and keep immigration down. I suppose that's why they let so many people in, to cover all this up while they're taking all these girls from other countries and using them as sexual objects in a perverted way over your heads without you knowing that they're doing all these things. I mean, I think at the end of this video I might just add a little bit. I made another video. I'm going to add it to the end of this one because it just shows that Trump and Epstein are very good friends.
Yes, I mean, I think the fascinating thing is it's three things. There's the sexual story, the financial story, and actually I think there's a national security element which is only just beginning to emerge. So it's actually sort of supranational as well as part of some huge financial operation, and that they were all connected. So the compromat through the sexual activities helped the financial activities. And the national security element was again tied to the sex. The sex was the way of drawing people in, but you're absolutely right. It shows that there were operations going on that really crossed boundaries. But I do hope that with the investigation, some of these important characters will now be exposed.
That is Russia's flag. Can't remember what this bit means. But considering they're not into their royal family anymore, this is all to do with the royal family. But it's a double eagle. When you are flying double eagles on your flag, you've got to be fairly high up in the old Roman system, because it usually means you're an emperor. It's very strange, isn't it, that Putin's also now included in the Epstein files. It's like, what? Well, this guy is including him in the Epstein files. Like, what the hell is going on here? Is the whole thing coming down? Oh my God. Yes, anyway. And again, for me, because I resigned myself to the fact that we were run by the Romans in a totalitarianism system, and that's why I struggle with Tartarianism, because they're the same kind of words, just the beginning's been changed. But he's putting he believes that Epstein was a Russian spy. But I don't know about that. If they're all working together and it's all one big system, then that's what it is. They're all part of the same thing. Yeah. All part of the same thing. So, he's almost right, but not quite right. Because they're all together. It's all one big game over our heads, where they've been taking all our money and using it for things like this. It's quite disgusting, isn't it?
Epstein was, I believe, a Russian asset. I think that's come out now from some of the disclosures. And we're also seeing with former Prince Andrew that he was very involved with Chinese intelligence. So, I mean, the vulnerabilities of the establishment were very clear because there was so little oversight into, for example, members of the royal family. It was very easy for these intelligence agencies to penetrate them and using them to go more widely into society.
You've been quoted as saying, Andrew, that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was actually Jeffrey Epstein's Super Bowl trophy. That's the way they were able to infiltrate the British government. To what degree do you think serious national security issues have been compromised by this?
Well, I know, serious security issues have taken place. I've actually been talking about an intelligence report from one of the American agencies dated only a few weeks ago, talking about how Andrew was a Russian asset. I think we should also say that in that quote from Epstein about his Super Bowl trophy, he also mentioned Bill Clinton. And though Bill Clinton is giving evidence, I do think we will find that Epstein's reach stretched to some extraordinary political leaders. Some brought in for his support of their charitable work, some because he was able to provide girls for them. But it was extraordinary, just the range of people he was able to draw in from across the world.
So, Andrew, if Epstein was a Russian agent, who was the master of this?
Well, I think Putin, to a large extent.
Now, Putin is heavily involved in this story that this guy is saying. Putin's in there. Goodness, he's well in there because it's Putin's fault.
Extent. This goes back before Putin's day. Epstein was introduced to Ghislaine in 1985, so long before Putin was on the scene, by a Russian agent, the grandson of Armand Hammer, who himself was a Russian asset. So this is a long-term penetration operation, and it reminds me very much of when I did a book on the Cambridge spies, exactly what they did in the 1930s with the Cambridge spies. They clearly were doing in the 1980s with people like Epstein.
There's also allegations that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was being watched by British intelligence agencies, pointing to the fact they probably knew what was going on behind the scenes. What did the King and the British government know about what was going on?
Yes, well, I've been told by several of my intelligence sources that they stumbled across both Andrew and Sarah Ferguson in the course of monitoring other people who they thought were pretty dodgy, and were surprised to find that members of the royal family were consorting with them.
These people that have done all this have made the rules and regs for you. They do not abide to any of them. They do exactly what they want, making masses of money, doing all those things, maybe to children, women. Melania! That's how he met Melania. Anyway, this is totally incredible. You've got to see that we don't need any of them. We need people to say, look after us as human beings. This is ridiculous, come on. Our food is chemicals, our air is chemicals. They've ruined the water. They're threatening wars all over the place, and Trump and Iran, while all this is really happening.
They, I know, did report things to the palace, and I suspect to the government. and clearly nothing was done. I have stories of MI6 going to the Queen's private secretary, Christopher Guy, talking about $5 million in a suitcase being given to Andrew in Kazakhstan and being sent away with a flea in their ear. So I do think there are questions for the government, for the palace, and indeed for the police, because presumably this stuff was brought to their attention as well. And I've offered, for example, information to the National Crime Agency on 2 occasions. They haven't bothered replying. This is a huge scandal, because there were so many opportunities to deal with this which were ignored.
We know the BBC has put a number of questions to the King and also the monarchy regarding asking exactly what they knew and when. They haven't replied to that. How damaging do you think this is for the monarchy, and will this force King Charles to abdicate?
Yeah, I think it's very damaging. This is a national broadcaster, normally very cautious. I mean, the palace declined to comment. I mean, that seems to me a pretty extraordinary way to respond to perfectly legitimate questions. My own feeling is that the King's position is untenable.
He is saying the King's position is untenable. It would mean that he would have to dissolve the government to get rid of Keir Starmer as well, because he's terrible as well. Well, they all are, aren't they?
He has quite clearly been complicit in a cover-up. I demonstrate that in Entitled with numerous occasions where the press were told lies, there were denials, there were legal threats, there were attempts to strong-arm them by refusing access to members of the royal family if stories were run. The fact is he was involved in the settlement with Virginia Giuffre, the £12 million hush money. And I'm afraid, he cannot get off this. I mean, he was clearly very involved in trying to suppress this story over many, many years. And I don't think the public are going to accept that. This is perverting the course of justice. And he himself has said that let justice take its course. Well, this is a good example. Let the law investigate the King. Because I'm afraid his hands are not clean on this.
In regards to who knew what and when, Andrew, we always know there's the story and often the cover-up is bigger. To what degree do you think key British members of the royal family and also intelligence officers and the British police, the Met Police, were involved in a huge cover-up?
It's not even that it's the King of England, the Prince Andrew. Well, he's not that now, is he? Because he's been demoted. But then the King should be demoted. And Trump and all the other people. It's now our police. If it's our police, it's the American police, it's the Russian police, it's all of them.
Yeah, well, people certainly turned a blind eye. I mean, this story has been running in the press for about 15 years. There are a whole series of occasions where, for example, Sarah Ferguson was caught in 2010 selling access to Andrew as a trade envoy for £500,000. There was no investigation at the palace, nothing happened with the police, the government did nothing in terms of getting rid of Andrew. He went on for another year after that. People had complaints about Andrew's behaviour right from the beginning in 2001.
They are out of control. Out of control. Yes, well. Yeah, let's carry on. Out of control. They need to all go.
There were stories of High Court actions where Andrew and Sarah were taking money they couldn't explain. Nothing ever was done or investigated. So yes, I think there were a lot of people involved. I mean, clearly people further down the chain, I think, were worried about their jobs, their pensions, and pressure was put on them not to talk. So in some ways, the buck stops at the top. And that's where we need to actually start getting some answers.
To what degree do you believe, Andrew, knowing the monarchy so well, to what degree do you think the Queen knew exactly what was going on with her favourite son?
Even the Queen was involved. Even the Queen. Queen Elizabeth.
I'm afraid she did know. I mean, I've got plenty of stories of things being brought to her, complaints, and her ignoring them. The fact is she had a very good intelligence system. The police protection officers would report to the head of security and report to her. There are any number of spooks who are working in her private office. that is just inconceivable. I mean, she ran a very tight ship, that she wasn't aware of what was going on and chose to ignore it in the hope that no one else would know. And I think that what the problem for the royal family is they never expected these Epstein leaks. And that's really what's done for them.
With so many people involved, and all the lies and the cover-ups, perverting the course of justice by them all telling us that we need to sort immigration out where they're actually bringing them in. That's just one of the things they've done in their one system. Come on, there needs to be an enormous, great court thing with the whole lot. Yeah, the Romans. The Roman system. And everything. This is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Oh, just in case, I better say for entertainment purposes only. Okay? And then we'll get on with the video. This whole Epstein thing just boggles my mind. Because there's all the historian stories and more documents, which I find incredible that they should have mentioned everybody they did this time last time. Why drag it out for so many years when the Epstein's supposed to be dead? Many say he's alive, but anyway, what gets me more than anything is that it says up here that the Epstein files, pages of documents, images and videos as early as, but that's the wrong date, I don't believe it, that's wrong. Do you mean 2016? But anyway, have highlighted connections between Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump and the modelling industry, specifically focusing on how modelling agencies were used to scout women. Now this is on Google. Yeah, and down here it says some reports, including claims from a former model and interviews, suggest that Trump and Epstein shared an interest in scouting young women, with allegations that they operated in similar circumstances. Reports from the late 1980s to the early 2000s indicate a close relationship with Trump, often socialising with Epstein in New York and Florida. It says down here that he distanced himself when what happened to Epstein when he was arrested. But come on. They were bringing in all these women on aeroplanes, but the story is just so amazing, and Epstein was so organised for it all. Like, how could he have got that far without every one of them noticing that he'd done what he did and that his reputation was what it was? But all the pictures of Ghislaine Maxwell, they're superimposed in together. I just don't even know what to make of this. It's just incredible. Nothing seems right. But anyway, what more proof do you need? You know, reports are that Trump isn't really that well. They say that he's winning golf tournaments, but he's falling asleep in these meetings. And some say that he did have a stroke, which is why he walks the way he does and pulls his leg. His legs are quite fat because he's obviously got a liver or urine problem, heart or liver. And then it says he's got dementia like Bruce Willis. The person says he has because he's been watching him since 2016. He's a carer and he can just see things are not right. So he didn't think particularly. He thought the best thing would be to sort out how to look after Trump, you know, with things so he can walk and all these kind of stuff. And then, you know, he said they're watching his brain shrink. And you're like, how did he, after everything that was said about Biden, how did he get to be president after he's sort of exactly the same? And says weird things like Biden said. Why would you want someone like that? He obviously can't be running the country. But, you know, when you look at that, he's doing the same thing as Epstein. That's what it says there. Loads of reports. He's obviously still under investigation, really, isn't he? Or is that what his last impeachment was about? I just don't see how you could have Trump when he's so allegiance to this man. With what they've done to Prince Andrew, you know, Mandelson, P. Diddy, most people's names that are on that document probably have gone very quiet. The picture of him and that girl's not real. The girl's died. Epstein's died, but did he? The mortician said he wasn't dead when the photographs were taken because his mouth was closed. When you die, everything relaxes. His mouth would be open. And he was sweating. She said he wouldn't be sweating. And then lots of people said that they got him out, didn't they? And you think, well, I don't even know. I struggle to think he's a real person, to be honest. He's just, you know, they do it so many times. They just give you his stories. And while they're doing all this, you know, Trump's in Iran, or he has been bombing, and you think, God, now all the prices are going up. Didn't he realise that? You know, that's why he did it. Because they all work together. And you're like, oh, it's just, to me, this is so painful. You know, there's so many things wrong with the videos. Anyway, he's so linked to Epstein. You know, and then there's Melania. And, you know, crazy that as the president's wife, she's having, residency problems. And then she tried to stop someone doing something, and then they went to court for their own backup. And now she might have to go to court. You know, it's like, how did that happen? How could Trump let her get like that? And then Melania is mentioned in the Epstein files, and she was like one of the girls they brought over. And they're not models, are they? They're brought over for other things. That's the thing. But then she wasn't particularly young, maybe. Younger when he met her, but, you know, they're saying it was almost like children coming over. Being brought over for these people. And some of the pads he's got don't look like homes. They just look like helicopter pad, bring them in, loads of rooms. You can get that one going. But do you know, how much do we ever know is really real and not stories? How do we know? We just don't know. We're just given these stories and you wade yourself through it. This is saying that Jeffrey Epstein, on documents, is saying that he's best friends with Trump. Yeah. How could he be allowed to continue? Really, come on. Anyway, I'm going to leave that up to you. I've made the video. It's just so weird to me. But anyway, thanks for watching. What's your thoughts? Dallas Dynasty.